Good evening and thank you for joining us on India Business Hour. I'm Ashmit Kumar and here are the headlines that we're tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to embark on his first state visit to America later this week is scheduled to address the US Congress during his stay. Sources tell us that the proposed General Electric Hindustan Aeronautics jet engine deal will eventually pave the way for 80% tech transfer. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken meets Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing in a bid to cool tensions between both nations. President Xi Jinping reportedly said that the world needed a generally stable China-U.S. relationship. Blinken stated that it does not wish to change the status quo on Taiwan. The government may fall short of its $300 billion electronics manufacturing target for FY26. Industry insiders say expect 75% of the target to be met. Blame non-participation by Chinese companies in mobile export production and weakening of domestic demand for shortfall. The government identifies fake input tax credit claims worth 15,000 crores during a special drive. 11,000 of the entities identified found to have claimed bogus GST input tax credits. Sources say that CBIC is likely to introduce additional validations within the GST return filing system to tackle the menace. Securities Appellate Tribunal hears Puneet Goenka's plea against SEBI crackdown. His counsel says that all entities through which SEBI alleges round-tripping have genuine business relations with Z. The Appellate Tribunal will hear the matter on June 26th. Another Indian pharma company under the scanner over substandard drugs. Nigeria's regulator flags Mumbai-based Sinacare paracetamol suspension for containing toxic substances. The product failed toxicity tests with deaths of 5 lab animals. No human fatalities were reported. IndiGo to bolster its fleet orders 500 aircraft. The order book comprises of a mix of the A320neo, A321neo and A321 XLR. IndiGo CEO highlights an order book now of almost 1,000 aircraft well into the next decade. Byju's resorts to cost-cutting begins layoffs across departments amidst their tussle with the lenders. Sources say employees 500 to 1,000 could be impacted. Kharif sowing hit as cyclone Biparjoy slows down the progress of monsoon. 37% rainfall deficit across India so far. Maharashtra and Madhya Pradesh witness high deficit. Met Department says that southwest monsoon will advance over several states in the next 2-3 days. Heavy rains lead to flooding in Assam and Sikkim. Nearly 34,000 people affected in Assam. Hundreds of homes in Sikkim swept away due to landslides. 100 people are dead in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar as the states grapple with a severe heat wave. Officials say most patients admitted in the hospitals were above the age of 60. Individuals with prior ailments worsened due to the extreme heat. Manipur remains tense. An Indian army soldier is injured after an exchange of gunfire with militants. Large parts of the state remain under curfew and mobile internet services remain restricted. The ethnic violence, which began in May, has left more than 100 people dead and thousands displaced. The death toll in the flooding triggered by the destruction of the Kakhovka Dam 2 weeks ago rises to 52. United Nations accuses Kremlin of blocking aid delivery to Russia-controlled areas affected by flooding. Well, first up, the day's market action. The Wall Street failed to hold on to opening gains, with the Nifty and the Sensex seeing cuts of 0.25% each. Financials led the fall and the Nifty Bank fell over 0.5%. ICICI Bank was the biggest laggard. Mid-caps outperformed. However, the blue chips to end at record highs. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be embarking on his first state visit to the United States later this week. Now, the visit promises to be a crucial one as both the nations would be consolidating their defense ties. The Prime Minister will be leading the celebrations of the International Day of Yoga at the United Nations headquarters on the 21st of June. He will then travel to Washington, D.C., where a ceremonial welcome has been planned. During the course of his stay, the Prime Minister will also address the joint session of the U.S. Congress. He's also likely to meet the top CEOs from General Electric, Micron and General Atomics. Foreign Secretary Vinay Quatra said that bilateral defense cooperation and progress on defense industrial cooperation roadmap will be a priority during this visit.
The defense industrial production roadmap that the two countries have been discussing for some time and which would hopefully during this visit essentially focuses on all aspects of defense co-production, co-development.
There were still obstacles in terms of actual willingness to transfer technology to India, and we're seeing that this barrier is likely to be breached during the visit of Prime Minister Modi. India-US collaboration in defense is not aimed at Russia. It is aimed at building India's own technical capabilities.
Well, speaking of PM Modi's visit to the US, sources have told CNBC-TV18 that the proposed General Electric and Hindustan Aeronautics jet engine deal is set to pave the way for 80% of technology transfer. Parikshit Luthra is standing by with more details. Parikshit, tell us what you're picking up from your sources.
Well, we believe that this deal has received approval from the highest political levels. India is going to get 80% technology transfer. We had asked for 100% technology transfer, but this somehow was not acceptable to the US administration, and there were also concern among some sections of the US Congress. So finally, it will be 80% technology transfer, which will happen over a 3-year period. In the first phase, we're likely to get manufacturing equipment from GE, which will be used to set up a production line, possibly in Koraput in Odisha, though the location for this co-production of the jet engine is still being worked on. We will get some parts, some assemblies of the jet engine for the next 2 to 3 years, and by the end of 3 years, we can expect, according to our sources, 80% of the local value addition to happen in India itself. Government sources saying this deal is unprecedented because US, UK, or France, for that matter, don't have a relationship or technology transfer with any country to this extent. India is also hoping this will give a impetus to the domestic defense manufacturing supply chain, as 500 to 600 MSMEs could benefit out of this deal. And it's not just this. We're signing an agreement on security of supply chains, reciprocal agreement on defense procurement. So this will really integrate the Indian defense industry with the supply chain in the United States and vice versa.
Right, Parikshit, thanks a lot for that. In some international news now, the U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken met Chinese President Xi Jinping in Beijing amidst frosty ties between the two countries. Blinken is the first high-profile U.S. official to visit China in more than 3 years. According to the Chinese state media, President Jinping said that the two countries had candid and in-depth discussions. President Xi Jinping reportedly said that the world needed a generally stable China-U.S. relationship. Well, back home, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes has been cracking down on fake GST claims. Sources suggest that the department has till date identified fake claims worth 15,000 crore rupees. Shivani Bajaj is joining us now with more. Shivani, throw some light on this government crackdown.
According to the Finance Ministry sources, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs in its ongoing drive has found that over 15,000 crore were taken as bogus input tax credit. CBIC had selected a total of 60,000 entities based on various risk metrics. The verification process, which is still underway, is completed for 43,000. Based on the process undertaken so far, 11,000 of these entities were found to have claimed bogus GST input tax credits. The drive against fake GST claims is still on, and the 2-month drive will end on July 16th. At the moment, there are two ways in which these bogus claims are being made. One is misdeclaring one's identity, or in many cases stealing someone else's identity, and also by misdeclaring the place of operation of the businesses. CBIC has also found that these businesses are furnishing bogus rent agreements and misrepresenting Aadhaar cards. Sources suggest that the Department of Indirect Taxes is now looking to tighten the validation norms for these invoices. The matter is likely to be taken up by the GST Council on July 11th, and sources suggest that CBIC is likely to introduce additional validations within the GST return filing system to weed out these bogus claims. The Department of Indirect Taxes is also using artificial intelligence and machine learning to tackle the issue of fake claims. Sources suggest that GST Council is most likely to pronounce on this matter in its July meeting. Back to you.
Right, Infra Major Larsen & Toubro has backed a major contract for the Mumbai-Ahmedabad bullet train project with a bid of 15,697 crore rupees. The contract involves the design and construction of a 135-kilometer of high-speed railway between Silfata in Thane and Ziroli at the Maharashtra-Gujarat border. The stock gained on the back of this development. EdTech startup Byju has begun layoffs across departments as a cost-saving measure amidst increased tension with the lenders. Sources have told CNBC-TV18 that around 500 to 1,000 employees across the company are likely to lose their jobs. Byju has also asked its employees to resign voluntarily on the official HR portal. Mumbai and Maharashtra are desperately waiting for the monsoon to bring some relief from soaring temperatures and humidity. Weather forecasting agencies say that these regions may have to wait a few more days because of the monsoon clouds have been stalled in Ratnagiri for the last 1 week, thanks to cyclone Byju. CNBC-TV18 Santia Gora has more.
When June rolled around, the monsoons were on track to cover entire Maharashtra by the 15th of June. By the 11th of June, monsoon clouds had rolled over Ratnagiri, but then cyclonic storm Byju developed off India's western coast, and as it strengthened, the advance of the monsoon stalled.
As of now, the monsoon is at Ratnagiri, which was advanced on 11th June, but simultaneously we had a system brewing in the Arabian Sea, which sucked away all the moisture. So, though there was some light rainfall along the coast, that was system related rainfall. No, it was not monsoon related rainfall.
This has meant that high temperatures have continued across large parts of Maharashtra and humidity has risen sharply. As this low pressure system was forming in the Arabian Sea, it drew westerly and southwesterly winds and weakened them. The weakness meant the monsoon could not advance on schedule. However, cyclone Byju has now crossed the western coast, made landfall and is moving towards central India. So the IMD believes that westerly and southwesterly winds will strengthen enough over the next 2 to 3 days to aid in the advancement of monsoon once again. But the stalling of the monsoons have not just meant higher temperatures. For the large agricultural community that depends on a regular monsoon advancement, the delay is worrisome as it may result in damaged crops. But IMD says it expects the monsoons to pick up towards the end of June.
All our states are deficit in rain in the month of June, as you can see in this chart. This is the seasonal picture from June 1st to June 14th. So as of now, we are deficit of rain.
As of the 14th of June, barring Jalgaon, entire Maharashtra has witnessed a rainfall deficit of over 60%. But experts say that with the crucial westerly and southwesterly winds picking up again, they expect steady progress and good rains in interior Maharashtra, with the deficit being made up by July. They're also sticking to the forecast that the overall monsoon this year will be 94% of the long period average and say rainfall distribution may not be skewed this year. In Mumbai, Santia Gora.
Well, sticking to the monsoons, with the monsoons getting delayed, a heat wave has persisted over large parts of India, resulting in over 100 deaths and numerous hospitalizations in the last week alone. CNBC-TV18's Abhimanyu Sharma reports that while the revival of the monsoons may provide some relief, changing weather patterns have been quite common this year. Take a look.
An on-duty traffic cop in Ayodhya, 57 people at Balia's district hospital in Uttar Pradesh, 45 people in Bihar. All these people have lost their lives due to the persistent heat waves across India's northern plains. Having recorded a maximum temperature of 43.5 degrees Celsius on Sunday, Balia has witnessed over 83 deaths since the 11th of June, of which 57 are confirmed heat-related deaths.
देखिए गर्मी के समय में पहले भी में थोड़ा मृत्यु दर बढ़ जाती है। आप बुजुर्ग आप देख रहे होंगे उसमें कोई 70 साल 60 साल से ऊपर के लोग ही हैं। उसकी पूरी हम लोग रोकथाम के लिए जो भी सरकार की तरफ से व्यवस्था जिला अस्पताल पर सभी हमारे दो ज्वाइंट डायरेक्टर लेवल के लोग यहाँ पर उपस्थित हैं और काम कर रहे हैं और हम लोग सीधे संपर्क में बने हुए हैं वहाँ के अधिकारियों।
One reason for this is the advent of the cyclonic storm Biparjoy over Western India, which has stalled the advance of the monsoon. But cyclonic storm Biparjoy has been a surprise on its own and has left destruction in its wake. With over 1,000 villages without electricity, the real extent of the damage is yet to be ascertained. Erratic weather patterns are not confined to cyclones and heat waves. On the 16th of April, 13 people attending a public function in Navi Mumbai died of a heat stroke, not due to a rise in temperature, but due to high humidity levels. Meanwhile, parts of North India experienced unusually long spells of rain during March and April, which delayed the onset of summer. For instance, Delhi registered a record minimum temperature of 19.6 degrees Celsius on the 1st of May. For now, IMD's forecast says that the heat wave over eastern India and adjoining areas is likely to abate from the 20th of June, when the monsoons are expected to restart their advance over parts of South Peninsular India, Odisha, Gangetic West Bengal, Jharkhand, Bihar and eastern UP. But experts say that increasingly unpredictable weather and climate change could do more than just disrupt lives. The cost may have to be measured in lives, property, livelihoods and economic stability. In New Delhi, this is Abhimanyu Sharma for CNBC-TV18.
Well, on to the latest from Manipur now. An Indian Army soldier has been injured after an exchange of gunfire with militants. Large parts of the state remain under curfew and mobile internet services are restricted. The ethnic violence, which began in the month of May, has left more than 100 people dead and thousands displaced. Time now for a short break, but up next, the government may fall short of its $300 billion electronics manufacturing target for FY26. Industry insiders expect 75% of the target to be met. More on this when we come back.
अधूरा और IIFL फाइनेंस पे है मेरा भरोसा पूरा। गोल्ड से लेकर बिजनेस, पर्सनल से लेकर होम, हर जरूरत को मिलेगा लोन। तो हुआ ना यही सही लोन? IIFL फाइनेंस करता है सीधी बात।
In January of 2022, the Ministry of Electronics and IT had released the vision document for electronics manufacturing in the country. In that vision document, the government had pitched for a target of $300 billion in electronics production by 2026. Now, the industry is now confessing that India may just miss the bus on the $300 billion target. Industry insiders have prepared models on the current run rate of production and scope of issues. Based on that model, they suggest that by FY26, India's electronics output will grow till $225 billion. That's $75 billion short of the 300 target. Similarly, while exports of $105 to $130 billion had been expected, the actual exports could be much lower, between $58 to $69 billion. One caveat here, these estimates were approved prior to the government releasing the version 2.0 of PLI on IT hardware, which saw incentives go up to 17,000 crores. So let's break up these numbers. Which electronic items are likely to see a shortfall? Now, as per industry estimates, mobile will see production of $100 billion. That's short of the target by $26 billion. IT hardware will see production of $6 billion, which is just 1/4 of the original target. Strategic and industrial electronics will also be shy of the original target. LED will see production of $8 billion versus 16, and telecom equipment at $10 billion versus 12. Similarly, as per the industry estimates for mobile exports, that was production. Here we now look at mobile exports. This will be in the range of $40 to $45 billion versus 52 to 58 for mobiles. IT hardware is expected to see no exports. PCBA and LED are also expected to see negligible exports as compared to target of $9 to $12 billion. So why does the industry say that India may just miss the bus? Well, for one, mobile production, non-participation of Chinese in export production has been cited as a factor. Industry also sees weakening of domestic demand, which is expected to hit mobile production. Industry also believes that dealing with Chinese ecosystem has served as a self-imposed sanction. For IT hardware, it was observed that almost all the domestic demand is being met via imports with depressed manufacturing. It is also noted that the PLI for white goods has not done justice to LED and that there is a need for an independent PLI for electronics components. Now, not all is gloom and doom though. Segments such as consumer electronics, wearables, hearables, as well as auto electronics have also shown significant momentum and are likely to achieve the targets that had originally been laid out. But even with these numbers, the industry and the government have expressed their commitment and their determination to achieve the $300 billion target by FY26. Let's in fact listen into Electronics and IT Minister Ashwini Vaishnav, what he had to say on this very issue just last month.
The hardware PLI has been modified to make it very flexible. The base level of incentive has been kept at 5%, which is equivalent to the incentive in mobile phone and telecom manufacturing. Then there are certain optional incentives which will kick in when more made in India components are used. The very big thing which industry is really looking at is Prime Minister's clear policy framework. 1, proactive nature of the government. 2, large talent base. 3, 4, design capabilities which have developed in the country. All these factors are working in unison to help this electronics manufacturing industry.
Well, from electronics to pharma now, yet another Indian pharma company, this time Mumbai-based Sinecare, is now under the lens. Its paracetamol drug has been found to be toxic by Nigerian drug regulators. Ekta Batra is here to tell us what's behind the recent spate of toxic drugs and what the regulators are doing to combat this menace. Ekta.
Another Indian company has come under the scanner for substandard drugs. Nigerian drug regulators, the Nigerian National Food and Drug Administration, has indicated that Mumbai-based Sinecare's paracetamol drug, Para-Clear Suspension 125, is said to contain the toxic substance ethylene glycol. The product failed toxicity tests with deaths of 5 lab animals recorded. No human fatalities were associated with this event. Sinecare's paracetamol joins the list of other Indian companies whose drugs were said to contain these toxic substances, from Made in Pharma's cough syrups being allegedly linked to the death of over 65 children in Gambia, while Marion Biotech's cough syrup was linked to the alleged death of 18 children in Uzbekistan, to WHO issuing an alert on a cough syrup manufactured by Punjab-based QP Pharmachem and marketed by Haryana-based Trillium Pharma. The Indian government has refuted allegations on Made in Pharma. Instances of contamination with ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol have been widespread recently. As of Jan 2023, it was linked to at least 7 countries and associated with more than 300 fatalities in 3 of these countries in just a few months. And while India might have a number of companies who have been caught in the crossfire due to also because of its large presence in the pharmaceutical industry, it's not just Indian companies which are linked to supplying drugs laced with these toxic substances. For example, an alert was issued last year for Indonesian-made syrups that are likely to have poisoned more than 200 children in the country, while Cameroon's health regulator was investigating the death of 6 children linked to a cough syrup which was allegedly manufactured by a Chinese company. The reason the issue is so widespread and difficult to identify, experts say, is because of the contamination of the supply chain that is obscure and difficult to track. Pharmaceutical manufacturers generally obtain inputs from external suppliers, and most often than not goes untested, especially by the lower quality pharma companies. Now, one of the theories is also because of the prices of the generally used safe input, propylene glycol, spiking in 2021. It was substituted by some corrupt parties with toxic alternatives such as ethylene glycol and diethylene glycol, and some pharma companies too switched from pharma to chemical suppliers. For example, Indonesian authorities had pointed out a reason for contamination was a local trader selling the industrial grade input as a pharma grade. Now, the fear is that there could be more incidents, as one cannot track how much of the supply chain is infiltrated when it comes to both the inputs stored at warehouses to the finished products distributed. However, government and agencies are now becoming more proactive. The WHO has urged all countries to step up surveillance and offered support to those that lack resources. The US drug regulator too has issued a guidance on testing high-risk drug components. An example of this proactiveness was the latest case with Sinicare, where the oral painkiller paracetamol was tested by Nigeria on behalf of Liberia. India too has been turning the screws. The government has cancelled licenses of 18 pharma companies allegedly manufacturing spurious drugs to testing of cough syrups at government labs before exporting, and in some instances asking companies to stop procuring inputs from certain companies that had possibly supplied to companies linked to recent incidents.
Right, Ekta, thanks a lot for that. Now, IndiGo has ordered 500 aircraft. The airline CEO, Peter Elba, says that an order book now of almost 1,000 aircraft enables IndiGo to fulfill its mission to continue to boost mobility in India. Danish Anand is joining us now with the details. Danish, this order comes on the back of 4 months, in fact, after Air India had placed an order for 470 aircraft. Now, IndiGo coming out with a 500 aircraft order. What does this mean for IndiGo, the airline specifically, and for the broader aviation space?
Well, that's right. IndiGo has placed the biggest order in the history of aviation of 500 jets by Airbus, and the order that the airline has placed will consist of A320neo, A321neo, and A321XLR aircraft. And the exact number of aircraft, the division of these aircraft will be decided later, and the engine manufacturer will be also decided later at a much later stage. But if you see, this is a very significant order, and now IndiGo has over 1,000 aircraft in its fleet, and the airline is already a big airline in terms of market share and fleet size. This will give them another headroom to grow more. And if you see, this is so good in terms of India's aviation market, as it is all set to be one of the largest aviation markets. Currently, we are the third largest aviation market. But this will also synchronize with the government's target of having over 2,000 aircraft in the country, and this will play a very significant role. And this will definitely boost the operations within India, and this will also set a new chapter in IndiGo's history, as the airline will now be able to fly to longer international destinations because they have ordered a significant chunk of A321 XLRs. So all in all, if you see, the order of 500 aircraft is really significant, not only for IndiGo, but as an Indian aviation sector as a whole.
Right, Danish, thanks a lot for that. This IndiGo order, massive order, coming on the back of course, just 4 months after Air India placing its own order for 470 aircraft. So huge orders flowing out of the Indian aviation space. But that's unfortunately all the time that we have. It's a wrap on this edition of the India Business Hour. Thank you so much for watching. News and updates continue right here on CNBC-TV18.